Hey guys, I am Ben with Morrison Media LLC.
I'm Jake with Blue Time Productions.
We're going to try and do like a recap of what we've been doing. So Jake and I have been working together for a little bit now, and I think it's just going so swimmingly. And we wanted to talk about behind the scenes of thought it'd be fun to talk about behind the scenes of what we've been doing, break down why we do what we do. I feel like personally we're at a level where we are beyond kind of the freelance, the startup, so it's been exciting we have very planned specific shots we're getting, we have very specific things we're doing for, bigger businesses now, and
Yeah, I think too, it's like we're at a point in our careers where we're beyond the novice. We've been beyond the novice for a while, but kind of until working with another professional like yourself, there's that sense of like, okay, how do I start pushing into that next level? And like, what are the things that actually take the work that I have from, I know that clients will like this, to, I know clients are going to love this. Mm-hmm. I feel like that's where at least a lot of my mental breakdown. And also, if you're watching, I feel like a lot of it is that sense of, it's like, if you're at the same, like a similar point that we're at, like, you'll be able to relate.
My behind the scenes I thought would be good to kick it off would be the first time Jake and I worked together. So we did Hannah and Justin's wedding, and that was August 10th of this year. And Jake and I get there, so you usually get there around like 10 a.m. It varies on times and things like that. And I stopped doing like the per hour charges because I felt like a lot of times it's just a crazy day. So I've definitely had things where, it's running a little late or things are running behind and people are like, are you still going to be able to do this or that? So that's kind of my wedding structure, is just like, I'm there for the day. Jake and I both bonded quickly because like this is our full-time jobs. So we don't have side gigs. We don't have other things kind of like, I'm not going to have two things planned in a day. So that's why I started doing it, is we're not going to miss anything with two videographers. And it's nice to get to that point too of like, when I'm trying to sell to potential clients, it's like, I know, and I can tell you this right now, like we are going to do a great job and we're going to get everything.
Yeah, and being able to also know how to properly support like somebody else that you're working with. I feel like earlier on when I first started, I was very like, if you would have hired me when I started out like on year 2 or 3, I would have definitely been like, I'm gonna bring this lens for the camera, and I would have tried to influence my own type of thing. So just getting to a point of like recognizing like, okay, this is the context and situation for these different types of jobs. So specifically for like this wedding, it's knowing like, okay, you're gonna be handling most likely these areas of grabbing these type of shots. So if I can supplement and get these other, side shots, or, it's like, you're with the bride, so I'm gonna go with the groom, that type of thing. Just being able to grasp that concept ahead of time, I feel like is a big key to being able to like work with somebody professionally and just well, and instill the confidence that you're gonna get a great product at the end. And
I think too, it's like we have different, this might be more on the technical side, but like he shoots more manual, I shoot with autofocus lenses. I have different kinds. I have Sony, he has Lumix, like he has different ways of, I usually have like a gimbal and then like a camera strapped on me. So I usually walk around with 2 cameras. Jake can speak on his different rigs and things like that. But it's like or even the lead and the second. We've both been the lead. We've both been the second. I've done it enough to be like, I can do either. I don't have to prove anything. I know if one's doing this, I'll go get that because that'll be great for the video. Maybe I'm not the main person at this time, and like that's okay. Or like, if I'm setting up for the ceremony, I'm not also worried about, they're doing family pictures right now. I know Jake is going to get what he needs to get, so I can focus on getting the next thing. Because, ultimately, it's just like you're working with an event that's presumably never going to happen again, and it's going to be a big moment. And it's just like being that on and being that focused and getting those good of shots for, a full however many hours in a day. It's just like we're just at the point where it's like you need 2 videographers to make sure like, every moment,
Yeah. Well, I think too, like the way that I structure my business in like pricing is very much like the lower in price is me also being able to articulate the lower quality. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, like if you truly want just a solo shooter
Yeah.
and you want just these type of shots, like it's going to look closer to this type of video, which isn't very good because it's just me. And it's not that it's going to look bad. That's the thing too, is it's like, and I think this is always like the calculus, like as like video guys that we think about, is just like, am I going to love it? Probably not. But also getting outside of your head and like trying to think, because like my parents have their own wedding video from the 80s, and that doesn't look good because it's from the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was a solo dude. But also to them, they captured the day, and there's its own type of nostalgia. So it's like, if that's the thing you're going for, that totally works. But you do get to a point where it's like, also, is it worth the stress? And I think that's a lot of it. And I feel like the more that I do this job, the more that I realize that like higher price equals lower stress for everybody, for myself, for the client. It's like everything you were saying about like, okay, I can trust this person to go handle this, like go on this mission, get these shots. That alleviates stress for everybody, you know? And I feel like that's kind of the thing that isn't necessarily processed by the general public, just anybody, because you know, I wouldn't think of that unless I did this job, you know? So I feel like that's, you know, maybe one thing if you're thinking about doing a wedding video is just like, the cheaper you go in video, there's probably a level of stress you'll have, because by nature, if you're doing it alone, like you have to check in so many times to be like, okay, I set this up, I'm ready to go. Where's everybody? Where are we going next? And then it's that chain of finding people.
So I'll wrap it up here with some of the frequently asked questions about wedding videos. So it's usually, what do you get in return? So the other cool thing about having two videographers and just where we've gotten to this level is the amount of things we can get in return and the different styles. So the first is within like the first 2 weeks, try and get people back like a 60-second, like I call it a thank you video. It's like a social media vertical style.
Which are very cool, by the way. I haven't done that, and I think that's an awesome thing.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's nice to share, and it's me trying to acknowledge the immediacy, because highlight videos take a while to do, and it's like, I know that exact feeling where like I just want to see, you know, everything. So it's a quick one, but it's nice, gives a small recap. And then the main highlight videos have been actually getting a little bit longer and longer. And sometimes the funny thing about that is when you're watching someone else's, people are like, oh, I watched my friend's highlight video and it was like 5 to 8, maybe 10 minutes. And I thought that was just enough. And then when it started being people's own videos, all the great moments are so great that they want more and more. And it's really gotten to, for sure, past like 15 minutes, gotten like the 20, 25 minute range. And people have still been like, I want more stuff. So I know that's been one funny thing, is people are like, I don't really need that. And then it's a very cliche thing, but as soon as you do go through the wedding and all this stuff flies by and you're like in the zone of it, you're just like, I want all those moments back, and you really can't get enough. And there's a lot of great moments really throughout the day.
So I would say this. I feel like the one thing that I have grown as far as like doing weddings and doing all that kind of stuff is really doing my best to match up what people are going to want from the video to like their desires in the future. You know, because it is cool to have a highlight video and to have really cool shots and like your whole wedding day matched up to the best music possible that like matches your feelings and emotions. But I feel like what you also want to reflect on is like the speeches that happen during the day, and like those moments where it's like, yes, capturing the first look, that's an important shot to get, but being able to see the like actual 3 minutes around it, where it's like your full emotions and your conversation. Like the last video, or the last wedding that we just recently did together, you know, when it was the bride and then the groom came up and he tapped on her shoulder, and it's like they both, their interaction was like, okay, we have our stuff ready, we can't cry right now, and like that alone was its own sweet thing. So it's like, you know, those 3-4 minutes, it's like, that's what I feel like, that's what I would want to watch.
You get who they actually are, like before the
100%. So I feel like that's the thing is, you know, when you are looking for a wedding video, it's like that kind of stuff is what you get with two videographers, because, you know, one person might be focused on the bride where the other person is like focused on the whole wide, like everybody there. So that's really cool. Like you're guaranteed to get those type of shots. So different subject, different type of video, but I think one of the reasons that like us also doing this video is working together, having that second person to elevate your work and take on, I think, larger projects and to take the projects that you already have and also just really like raise them to a different level. So that being said, one thing that's definitely been top of mind for me is when it comes to like doing commercial work and working with businesses. One of the big things that I think should always be top of mind, like if you're watching this as a business, is what do I want to do with the video? And I feel like video is this almost like massive, ubiquitous, you should do video, but what kind of video do you want to do? What should it look like? Should I talk in it? There's so much to think about that just knowing where you want to put the video. And then following that, what do you want people to do when they see the video? I feel like those two, if you can answer those two questions, you are on the right path to making a video. So the two questions would be, where do you want to put the video? And then what do you want to happen when somebody watches that video?
And we kind of answer those, or try and help you find those, because there's a lot of different places to put it and a lot of different reasons why.
100%. And that's also overwhelming because you're like, well, I can put it on Facebook, I put it on YouTube. What if I do a commercial for TV? All that stuff. So I think most of the work that I do for clients is very much like, we want it to be website driven. Or like the housing for this website, where's it going to go? Most likely going to be website. Why do you want to do that? A lot of times it's to make sure that when somebody shows up to your website, it's that understanding of, I know more about this company, I can trust them a little bit more, this is the person I'll probably be working with, or also just information that people should know. I know for myself, like just having a website on your video that's like, if you like this, you should go here. If you like that, you can go there. Being able to do that. So a good example is I worked with a landscaping company this late summer, fall, and been helping do this as well. And so when we were working on it, their main goal was, we want a website video. We want a video for our website that describes who we are and gives people a taste of what it's like for us to work with you, but also to just like be on your property and just the attitude and the people that we're bringing. So with that, it was a main video and then offering them like different clips and stuff like that to support that video, whether it's on like their social media, that type of stuff. I have found that when I say clips, I'm basically talking about like really short, they could be 3 to 10 seconds long. But these clips you can use on social media, stuff like that, and there's no audio, but you can just use them in a bunch of different places. So when we're filming, that was like what's in our heads while we're filming is, okay, we're gonna show up to, it was 3 different locations, their shop, and then 2 different properties that they were working on, and capturing action shots and then matching that with like an interview of them talking about their business. So the way I kind of broke it down in my head was, this is a like, I want it to be a cool like sizzle reel that like highlights like this is a cool company, this is the awesome stuff they're doing. There's awesome equipment. Like, I don't know if this is just like being a guy, but I feel like anytime you see like big, cool equipment, that's awesome. You know, it's not every day you're in a bulldozer. So that type of stuff. And then just authentically capturing who they are. So while we were doing it, the first day that we filmed together was at, we'll say Property One. It was just, the one place over in West Salem. And I know that going into it, there's this general sense, like we talked about like with the wedding stuff, like the amount of stress that's relieved by having a second person. But this has definitely been one of those projects where like having a second person where like the plan, we're going into it, this is generally what we're shooting for. And while I'm getting things either set up for a certain shot or like while I'm flying the drone, I've got you on the phone and you're able to kind of keep an eye out for trees and that type of stuff. That's incredibly helpful. But
also one can happen, Craig.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I think a lot of times, and I do this too, when I plan, it's like, I'll get it that day. And when you actually get to the day, there's so many moving things. So I remember the sun, the sun's always just a certain direction, and wherever the house is facing, depends on all that stuff. So like if it's a good shot or not. So if the sun, I don't know how deep I want to go into this, but if the sun is a certain way, it can be super like, just crazy lighting where it's really contrasty, where something's super dark, super light. So you have to hit sun at a certain time. Maybe there's clouds, maybe there's not at certain times. The owner wanted to be on camera And so the owner, when you're first playing it, you're like, cool, we'll get them on Tuesday. Well, actually that Tuesday she had like 30 minutes available. Like she came in and was like, I gotta go do this. I have this time now. So it's kind of like, okay, you actually have 30 minutes. You don't have 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so when you get to the situation, it's having, say a drone is up in the air and somebody comes in, then I can relay to Jake, hey, can you bring the drone down? We have 30 seconds or 30 minutes to do this shot. It's like you don't have just nearly as much time as you think, and there's just so many variables in a day. And kind of one of the things I think me and you both don't like doing to a customer is saying like, we didn't quite get it, let's come back and do it, which thankfully I haven't really had to do, but it's just one of those things where everyone's time is, we were in late October, which it still looks, we've just hit the cold season, but it's like there's only a few days where you're going to be at this location because you're going to be finishing up this project and it's going to look nice out and the owner is going to be available and it's so many variables that you're like, yeah, I kind of need someone else here because I only have like a split second to really get what I want.
Totally. I think, to kind of take it a little bit back, if we end up using it.
Oh yeah, I kind of went too far.
But no, it's good.
I get it.
Take it a little bit back to, when we talked about with the wedding stuff about you can do things on your own type of deal. Like for the type of shoot, like especially I think for commercial, the number one reason you're going to hire people is to keep things on track. Yeah. When you're doing it alone, that's the thing is you go into it and you're like, I know the lighting that I want, I kind of know the shots that I want to get, but there is so much going on the day a lot of times where it's like, okay, we can get like these 2 shots to look good and what you want if I'm by myself. Otherwise, everything else will just kind of have to go to waste. Not go to waste, but like we won't capture it, Whereas I feel like with the landscaper, like that first day was the biggest highlight because we arrived and it was like all their guys were there already, like pretty much ready, if not kind of starting the work that they were going to do. So we could just get there and just get the gear set, and then I think I just sent you out and you just got footage of people working because we knew we needed people working, So that was happening, and that gave me the freedom and the ability to, get my other camera set up and just have everything lined up so we could get the shots that I knew we needed to get, but also to just make them look good. So there's definitely an efficiency factor that you're looking at when it comes to, I think, the commercial video. If you're looking for your own business, like, okay, because I think we both have gotten this question, like, well, could we just not have a second camera person and save some money? And it's like, the answer technically is yes, but also then we are stretching out our timeline by double, maybe triple, depending on what we're trying to do. So to wrap this all up, take it home. I think the big takeaway with, like behind the scenes and working with the landscaping company was just to highlight that this is the type of video they wanted. So it was to go on their website, show you who they are, what they're about, what you can expect from their business if you go with them. And then, while we're filming stuff like that, knowing that there's just a wide range of shots that we were going to get. So, when we go to each of these locations, their shop and the 2 properties, you had the general, we know this is going to be B-roll stuff to get. So like, guys working in, a Bobcat, doing that type of stuff. But then there's the specific shots we want, like, okay, this type of equipment, this type of action shot. So going in, getting that stuff to then be matched with an interview. That was really just kind of the mainframe structure of it. And I feel like saying it out loud now, it's like, oh yeah, that's super simple. But at least during the day, a lot of it is just like someone is setting up the camera rig or the light, whatever it is, while the other person is making sure that, for the interview, the guys that are going to be on it, they're ready to go. And they're feeling good too, and just creating that good environment all around for everybody. Perfect. Okay, so this is very nerd talk. So nerd video talk is this. Lately, so the way that my system is set up is that I have the camera body, and then on top, that's where I'm recording. So I'm recording on Blackmagic 12G Video Assist. So with that, I'm recording to an external SSD from that. So that's what I'm recording on. The one issue that I found is that when I film the projects that I do, I film in Blackmagic RAW file format, which are massive files. I feel like if you're if you're watching this, you would know. So I'm recording in Blackmagic.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. So these are So these are big files, and what that also means is that these files, when they're being recorded, like you have to have media that can handle that speed of recording, because it's like trying to take a fire hose. Like you can't use normal just like SSDs usually, because it's like trying to take a fire hose stream through a garden hose. Like it just doesn't work. So.
And I think there's people who are like me where maybe I'll take a recommendation from someone on like what card speed to get, but I don't necessarily know how that actually translates. Like it says like 300 megabits a second or something. I'm like, sure. Like it's just kind of like until you run into the problem, which is what we've actually been running into. And it's like, oh. So.
When it comes to SSDs, something that I've recently learned is that you have two types of write speed. So the read speed doesn't matter to me. What you need is the write speed. So the write speed for
on the SSD it's going on to?
Yep, on the SSD it's going on to. So, and it's even for SD cards. So like an SD has a read-write speed, and write speed is always lower than the read speed. It's easier for the card to be read than to actual write onto it.
Okay, got it.
So for an SSD, a really great one to record on for many situations is the Samsung T7. Has a read-write speed of 2,000 megabits per second. However, here's been the issue, is that it doesn't have just read-write speed. There's sequential and then there's sustained write speed. The sequential is how much can it handle all at once. So that's where the 2,000, it can handle 2,000 megabits per second of information getting written onto that SSD for a certain amount of time. And I don't know how to calculate or how to find out what that time is, but it's basically, that's the burst. That's how much it can just initially handle. The sustained write speed is how long it record at a certain speed over like the course of 30 minutes an hour, whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
So
is that way lower?
It's way lower. It's like the last I saw it, it was on a Reddit page, because this is just where I could find the info, and I think it was like 330 megabytes per second.
Oh, but you're thinking it's like 2,000. Gotcha.
So I bought it thinking I'm like, 2,000, I'm golden, right?
Which I think a lot of people are. That's all right. Like you see one thing and you're like,
totally. Yeah. So now I'm trying to figure out, I'm like, okay. And that's the thing is like, these companies don't advertise.
What is it? Constant and sequential?
Sequential and sustained.
Sustained, yes. Yeah. So that's what you want.
I want to know sustained.
Okay.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, I can't hardly find sustained. But what I'm thinking I can do is recently, so a little while back, I had discovered like NVMe SSDs, or I'm trying to think the really quick way. So there's like memory cards you can get for your computer, and that's like where you're storing it, RAM, right? They've gone to now, there's been a progression where you can get, they're called NVMe. So they're like a little stick of memory. And now you can get NVMe SSDs. And some of those are, and the NVMe is like such a jump in technology and like read-write speed. So that like the Samsung T7 was 2,000 read-write. NVMe, I think it's like WD Western Digital. The Western Digital Black 2 terabyte that I've been looking at, that one is like read speed of 7,000 megabits per second, write speed of I think 6,600 write speed. So that's where, but I can't find the sustained speed.
Where'd you find it last time?
B&H and Amazon.
No, like on the box when you found that actual.
Oh no! I found it. It was a.
Oh, the Reddit that you had to like go dig deep for.
I had to go researching.
Interesting.
So, and I'm truly, it's probably me just being dumb. I think that's where it's like I'm not finding the information I want because I don't know where to find it. If you're watching this and you know, please comment below where to find this.
There are definitely things where they advertise one thing and then for me and people who are less know that stuff, it's even just like this shoots in, this frame rate or this, quality, and you're like, well, really that quality's cropped and you have to be on an external monitor, and you know what I mean? Like it's 100%. Always just kind of that fine print of, and that's anything, not even just in our, not even just in video, but in so many things.
Yeah, and then it's
kind of a disservice to them, you'd think.
That's my thought too. But my guess is that, CF Express, SD cards, and I think just, when you think of an SSD, like internal SSD, I think that's been like the standard for recording for a long time. So I feel like these SSDs, maybe just these companies aren't always thinking about like what to advertise for like
it's a little
that type of
like new.
information for videographers, because
Yeah.
they're like, well, this is going to go in a computer. Who cares
True.
about the sustained? Because chances are, when you fire up a video game, you just need those first like 10 minutes of the video game loading up,
Fire it up.
playing,
Interesting. I didn't think about that.
and then everything is the same. So that's kind of where I'm thinking I can't find the sustained speed for that type of stuff. But here's the thing. If at 2,000 megabits per second, the write speed drops down to 300 for Samsung,
Just trying
I'm
to
hoping
calculate
that like, yeah,
900.
if you triple it, it'll be closer to 1,000 at 6,000
who knows
megabits
if that's like
for
the,
writing.
maybe somebody knows like that's the
Yeah.
equation, or if it's just a random. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's the thing. This is me. I'm just saying what I'm thinking recently, and my plan is to buy one of those NVMe SSDs online, and then also B&H has like a great selection, and I'm sure Amazon too. But B&H has some selections of enclosures that you can put that SSD in, and then you connect it to. It has a USB-C.
Did you have a reason you
connected.
jumped from SSD or like SD cards to SSD, or was that just for the Blackmagic recording?
It was for the Blackmagic, but also, so before Blackmagic Video Assist, I had the Ninja V or 5. And that one records to SSDs as well, but not with the SSD. You have to have the, what's it called? They have caddies to put the SSD in, and it's an internal SSD. So there's like the whole workaround, and those also like don't have the fastest, right? So I would run into issues where I'm trying to film in 4K RAW, ProRes RAW, in 60 frames per second, and it just dropped frames because it couldn't handle that much write speed. So then that's really what began, ever since I started trying to record in RAW. That began my journey of abandoning SD cards and just going to SSDs or anything like that. So unfortunately, most of my career is built on, I want to do this really cool thing that I think is awesome, and then there's like 5 more steps that I didn't realize when I started, and now I have to just solve those 5 problems.
Yeah, you gotta go and do all those. This is Jake, Blue Tie Productions, bluetieproductions.com. I am Ben, just hit that thing, Morrison Media LLC.com, and thank you so much, appreciate it.
Bye.